Life can be fast-paced, strenuous, and flat-out overwhelming. Life transitions and taboo topics can make it hard to catch your breath. Welcome to Breathe, a podcast that enables you to slow down, get your bearings, and engage in real conversations where no topic is off limits. Breathe is presented by Breath of Life, hosted by David Person and speaker-director Pastor Snell.
Welcome to Breathe. I'm David Person. And as you may recall, in our last episode, we were having a conversation about blending Black culture and the majority culture. And of course, when I say we, I'm talking about Pastor Snell, speaker-director of Breath of Life and the senior pastor of the Oakwood University Church, Pastor Kirk Nugent, who is the media pastor at Oakwood and is the media guru for Breath of Life. Well, it was a robust conversation, and we were talking about some of the challenges around the use of a certain word that was created in this country as a pejorative directed at people of African descent and has evolved over the years. We're going to pick up from that point. Again, this conversation is about the blending of Black culture and the majority culture.
There was this Facebook clip that went viral several years ago, man. I'm forgetting the forum, but there was a context where they were addressing what you just said, David. They were talking about how it's in the music and people talk about it. It's a big deal. And so there was a white person that just kind of felt like, man, they felt like they were being restrained, isolated, man. Like there was this injustice that everybody could use this language, but somehow, man, it's going to become this point of offense when they are not. And I thought there was this one guy, his response was so intelligent. So he was saying that there is a way that a man can refer to a woman, a term, I don't have to say it, that's very derogatory when men say it to women. But somehow there are times where women can kind of get together and laugh and giggle and they'll refer to themselves in that way. Yeah. But he was just like, when they do that, I don't feel this major urge or injustice or like I just need to jump in and say that.
Oh, you know what I'm saying? I want to say it too.
I want to say it too. No. Or, there may be a particular group where another racial group, they may take a particular slur and kind of make it their own. And I don't feel like, man, I need to, in order to be down, I need to jump in and use that same term. And so his point was, why then, if you understand this term, even if you see, people in that group using that term, why do you feel so burdened? Right. You know what I'm saying? As if life is unfair to you now, because that you can't jump in and say the same
what's
thing.
Behind that urge?
What's behind that urge?
But see, this is the challenge. Yeah. Because there is no other culture that is putting out what's hot.
That's true.
So if I intend to emulate what's hot, if I want to say the latest slang and the latest terms and the latest things that I hear all of the people that I want to emulate say, that's to me, this is where the challenge comes in because the other cultures that have their slurs and different things that they may say, and I don't feel any way about wanting to say that particular one, they just don't have the kind of stage time, the kind of clout, the kind of presence and impact that the Black culture does. And so now this is what I see. This is what I hear. This is as I'm walking to the store, somebody drives by in the car, I hear my favorite song. It's littered with these words that I can't even repeat the words to my favorite song.
It's so funny because music is dangerous because I won't say dangerous, but it's so powerful because music, it comes out of you involuntarily.
It really does. Really does.
When it's in you,
yes,
it's just
it does.
going to come out, man. So
and I think that's the challenge. These are the lines that we play in. It's not really black and white. It's kind of gray because that it is a unique thing to Black culture. That there is a desire to emulate it. There's a desire to it's our culture. I've heard that said multiple times. It's not just black culture. This is our culture. Rap music is not just black music, or would you? You see what I'm saying? Or how would you describe it? Would you say rap music is black music, or would you say it's?
Well, it certainly came out of black culture.
There it is.
People were the
Sure it
creators
is.
of it,
Sure.
specifically Black American or African American people.
Right.
Even though it drew on a little bit of the Caribbean culture.
Yeah.
which we
Agreed.
drew a little bit on that. But it's primarily an African American cultural phenomenon. However, we do know that some of the most prolific practitioners of hip hop and rap have been white.
Right.
Eminem, everybody knows.
Yes,
right?
Very much.
See, this is where we are.
Right. This is where we are. Yeah.
And so the roots of it, and we've kind of danced around this the whole time. The roots of it. If we go back to where it came from, whether you're talking about the word, whether you're talking about where this music came from, whether you're talking about the Black National Anthem, if you go back to the roots of it, you find its origin and you find its relevance. But we're so far removed from that now; it's become where we've just kind of taken it on as this is modern culture.
Yeah. So I think part of where I wanted to kind of look at with this, one of the things I wanted to look at with this conversation, get your thoughts on it, is so in the whenever there is oppression, kind of once there is a swing, there's going to be an overt celebration of.
Yeah.
So like when you hear us put terms into the culture like black love, and we celebrate black love, or black pride.
There's
like there is this idea, or there are these different T-shirts. Like there's this one T-shirt that says, "Man, black always and black all the time," or "Black is beautiful." Like do you feel like in this day and time, is that all good? To celebrate that, even if it makes other cultures uncomfortable or frustrated. What's your thought on that?
So I'm going to say, I think
like in the 90s, there would be these T-shirts that say it's a black thing.
Right.
You just understand. I mean,
and people would also be offended when they would see the X. Yes, representing Malcolm X on the hats and whatever after Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing in Malcolm X movie. It's interesting that to me, we have to be the ones who are sensitive about how other people feel.
Right.
Nobody asks us, what about that Confederate flag that's flying over there or that's on that license plate? Nobody checks with us about that. They just do it.
Yes.
So in my mind, in a free society where we got the right to free speech, if I don't like what somebody's wearing, if I see a Confederate flag, and
you see them all over,
and you see them all over,
South.
Either I look away or I do something else that I won't, since you all are past, because I won't tell you what that other thing is. I may do that. I slip it. God help me. I'm still working on some of this. Still working on some of this, that I have definitely done it, disrespected it. But I think, we have the ability to, to just turn away and not engage.
I love that answer. I love that answer. Because this is the reality, is that even just by having the conversation, the onus is wholly placed on the person, on us. I mean, the black person that wears that shirt, black all day, and listen, I'm never scared, right? Whatever it might be, and the onus is placed on you. To hold space for or be sensitive to how that shirt or that statement will make someone else feel, or that there is an exclusion.
Right. And can I interject something?
Or even the term Black Lives Matter.
Mercy.
Because we're talking about things that are not inherently offensive. It's not like you're walking around with a shirt that calls white people some racial pejorative, right?
Right.
That's not what we're talking about.
No,
if we were
not.
talking about that, that'd be a different thing.
I totally agree with you.
Right?
Yeah.
But even though the opposite has been done, and it's still, if you feel bad about it, then you go deal with your feelings.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So
exactly.
Exactly. I hear what you're saying, and you're trying to make that thing base. We're trying to give it a good base, and I understand that. And I'm not trying to wear anything offensive. I'm not trying to offend anyone. But there are those who are trying to offend us.
Right.
And how do we handle that?
That's right.
How do we hold space for that as well?
I just think it's always an interesting conversation, because the question is, well, what if I wore a shirt that says, white is beautiful, or, white lives matter, so on and so forth. And I'm just like, it just would have no historical relevance.
Period.
Because the the idea that Black Lives Matter, it's not a suggestion that Black lives are more important than other lives.
Exactly.
It's simply saying in the context, Black lives are not mattering in these cases of law enforcement. They're treated with irreverence, a lack of sacredness, a lack of value. And we're saying, no, we want those lives to matter. Also,
that's right.
So I just think when you remove those things from culture, it's just foolish. I think I had a similar conversation with a Caucasian pastor friend of mine because they saw some Black Bible art where Jesus was a person of color and the apostles were people of color.
He had a problem.
And because it's like, well, no, you guys said, it was wrong when we did it. And it's just like, well, no, this is actually just accurate. It's like, Jesus, the apostles, these are people of color. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's a false equivalent that
Israel is in Africa.
It's in Africa, right?
Israel is in Africa.
Right. Yes.
Mercy.
Not just Egypt, but Israel.
Israel, right.
Good night.
And so it's just so many different things where when you try to create this false equivalent, it doesn't play. Because I was just like, even in this art, there were people of every hue. Whereas in the religious art, maybe, 30, 40 years ago, everybody in heaven was white.
Everyone.
When Jesus came, all the angels were white.
That's right.
Jesus was as blonde and
there you go.
and blue-eyed, so on and so forth. So I just think that, everything has to have context. Because I think that as you sit here, we are Black men, we are believers in Jesus Christ.
That's right.
And, his two greatest commands, love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. So I don't think that, what you're hearing here is an extolling of one culture over the next.
Right.
But I think what you're hearing is saying, no, our culture has value and we've made contributions. And it's crazy because even when you talk about, the contributions, and we put them primarily in the context of like music, film, the arts. But honestly, man, even in a sermon I shared a few weeks back,
that's correct,
where we talked about the contributions of African Americans. Like if you withdrew them, America as we know it would not exist.
That's right.
I mean, from the invention, the traffic light,
come on,
the air conditioner, like computers, just lubrication, peanut oil, cooking oil, like all these different things. And honestly, I didn't even crack the surface,
right,
like the major inventions that impact our world. Because, poverty is the mother of invention. So those who are in that space are going to be the ones that are figuring out ways to make life easier, more palatable, more.
Yeah.
But it's amazing because we, even then, when we just kind of say, art, music, film, athletics, again, we're there, but we're in all the spaces of American history, and we've contributed to all of it.
And what I loved about, and I told you that very Sabbath. I said, you hit, and I didn't enumerate them to you because you obviously had preached, so you knew. But for the sake of those who are watching and listening now, I mean, you talked about Benjamin Banneker. You talked about Charles Drew.
Come on.
You talked about Garrett Morris. I mean, you did the roll call, man. And I was like, yes. Because I know even though people in my age group and your age groups know, a lot of these young people, they don't know. They don't know.
No clue.
My parents, and I don't know about you guys, but my parents gave me, when I was a little boy, gave me this big book called Great Negroes Past and Present. And that's how I learned a lot of Black history just from reading that book.
It was something that we had in the library at our church.
Oh, wow.
Where you had where you accessed it. But I do think that I think it's critical. And I just think we're in the age of deception.
That is very true.
Where truth is it just doesn't matter, and the powers that be, we just delete the parts that we don't like. Wow. We reframe and rewrite it. I mean, even when we look at how certain groups refer to the January 6th insurrection,
it's so true,
as this just act of peaceful demonstration. I mean, I'm just kind of like, wow, really? And that's how quickly They're going to begin reframing that,
and that's just 2 years ago.
Delete it and make it seem as if it didn't happen. Where we tried to overthrow democracy.
And I think that's an old playbook that they're using because you think about just how even and we alluded to this earlier, how biblical characters are depicted, how the nations of the Bible are depicted.
Sure. Yeah.
You think about in Hollywood how Hollywood is generally depicted, historical figures like Cleopatra and others that we know were people of African descent,
right?
But they just ignored it. By and large. They're doing a little bit better today. Like I don't know how you guys feel about and I know we're running out of time, but the series The Chosen.
Oh yeah.
They're doing a lot better job. I don't know if they're still quite where I wish they were, but they do a pretty decent job.
It's been a major part of what they're doing. I'll say it that way. But I see I see your point as well. But I think even as we land, the thing that I feel like we've touched on it in every aspect of our conversation today is understanding the history. And not deleting the history,
right?
Not deleting the history, having a respect and a reverence for the history that brought you the culture, whatever that cultural item might be, and whether having reverence and respect for those that created the things, but also for the person and the lifestyle and the struggle that created the music and it created the art, but also created the invention, the struggle and the poverty that created the necessity that created the invention as well. Understanding that history behind it, and it gives you a certain level of respect and reverence. It gives you a framework for how to manage what it is that you currently see right now.
Yeah.
So,
but I think there's another thing, and I think it would be an interesting. But when you look, I think at the most powerful civilizations, one of the things that I think one of the threads that runs through them is that they were never just one culture. They were multiple cultures.
Multiple cultures.
So like when you looked at Babylon, when Babylon came in, they didn't just annihilate everybody in sight. Their game was assimilation. It was to kind of bring in Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and employ their gifts in the culture and the thought process of Babylon. And I think even in these United States, it's because you have the collective genius of various cultures, that contribute and make it what it is in terms of this way of life. Not saying it's better than anybody else's way of life, because I think that's a part of Americana is to make us think we have the best way of life. And if you never traveled, you probably believe it. But I do think that that's what contributes to its strength is that you have collective contributions and perspectives from all over.
Yeah, people who have not traveled outside of the country don't realize that there are a lot of places that exist that are very comfortable.
Very comfortable.
People are they're living well.
Yes, they are.
And we're not the only democracy.
That's right.
Again, I'm happy to be an American. I thank God for America.
I am.
But I also realize America is not. It is not unique in terms of being able to provide safe, comfortable places for people to live in a decent standard of living.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah,
that's it.
That's very pronounced.
Well, this has been another very robust, dynamic conversation.
So there was a lot there. There's a lot to cover.
Yeah. But I'm digging this, man. I really love it, and I want to thank my pastors, Pastor W. Snell, Pastor Kirk Nugent, for once again creating this robust conversation that I hope people will plug into. Reflect on it, discuss it. You may want to, holler at us and say, "Hey,
tell us what you think."
That was good, or I don't know about that. But we're okay with that. We've got thick skins. So.
Absolutely.
But thank you for joining us, and God bless you. And don't forget, no matter how challenging it may be, and I'm just going to say, I don't know what y'all think, but sometimes it can be very challenging to be black in America.
It can be.
Sometimes it can be challenging.
Yes, it can.
But when it gets that way, let's stop, let's pray, and then let's breathe.
Breathe is produced by David Person for Breath of Life. Executive producer is Snell, and sound engineer is Kirk Nugent. Audio episodes of Breathe can be found on Apple, Spotify, or Google podcast platforms. For video episodes and extra content, check out the Breath of Life YouTube channel. Breath of Life is faith-based content, resources, and programs from a contemporary urban perspective for those looking for hope and guidance. We believe that every breath we take is a testimony that God is consistent, that He loves us, and has a plan for our lives.